Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I realize it's been a month since I made my last video, and mostly that has been because since I started the accelerated program at UofT, everything's just been so up in the air and there was no concrete schedule. So between our clinicals getting changed, our lab dates being confirmed, not even knowing when our online classes were going to be, I didn't even know what was going on. The faculty didn't know what was going on, but it's finally been sorted. So now we're kind of in more of a routine. I'm personally not starting my clinicals till November. So I thought it would be better if I made a general Q&A video, considering the applications are coming up soon. And then I can do another video just explaining my experience at UofT after a couple more weeks once I'm settled in. So without further ado, I am just going to do some general Q&As because I've realized on my first supplementary application video, I had a lot of comments of people just asking questions, and I've also received a couple DMs. So I just wanted to have one video where I kind of elaborate more on those questions that people had. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to answer is what program did I take? So I did a double major at UofT Scarborough campus in human biology and health studies. Now, a question that branches off of that are what prereqs do you need for nursing? So each school that you apply to has different prereqs that you need. So you're gonna have to go onto that school website and take a look at what specific prereqs that school calls for. But generally the prereqs they want are biology, chemistry, physiology, stats, and I think like for UofT they wanted like a social science course, a humanities course, but for me, my actual undergrad in human biology covered my prereqs, so I didn't have to go out of my way to take any other courses to meet the nursing school requirement. But for example, I was strategic in the way that I applied to school. So I didn't apply to York, for example, because they required that I took microbiology, and even though I was in a human biology program, microbiology was an elective, so I didn't need to take it. Hence I didn't take it because it had a lab component that I didn't want to do. So I just didn't apply to York because I didn't want to have to take microbiology just to be able to apply to York. So make sure you look at the schools that you want to apply to and cross reference it with what kind of courses you're taking, and if you need to take some other prereqs that are not included in your courses. Healthcare experience. So as you guys know, I've got into UofT, and a lot of people talk about the healthcare experience that you have and how that helps you get in. Personally, I don't think my healthcare experience is that like cool or that extravagant. Basically, I did volunteer in 2 hospitals. So the first hospital I volunteered at, I started when I was in grade 9, so a very long time ago, and basically it was just a general hospital volunteer position. I was a patient-focused floater, so I actually got to go to all the different departments in the hospital wherever they needed me that day for a 2-hour shift once a week. So example, I would do endoscopy, I would do day surgery, I would do hospitality. There's 2 hospitality desks, like I just did that kind of stuff. And then when I turned 17, I was eligible to volunteer in the ER, so I applied for that and I got in, and I loved volunteering in the ER, so I stuck with it all throughout my undergrad, and I actually just stopped this year due to COVID, but I was there this whole time, so that counted as my experience. Just a side note here, the coordinator for the volunteer office was not the sweetest person. I did use her as a reference in second year, I think, and her reference was not good. I actually had someone tell me that, like, this is like, basically the reference she gave me was not based on knowing me. It was more based on looking at how many absences I had, or did I go out of my way to do extra stuff for the hospital. And I just thought that was very like not cool, so I didn't use her. So make sure we're gonna get to references in a second, but make sure if you are volunteering in a hospital and it's more of a big organization that you are getting to know your coordinators if you're using them as references, because you want to make sure that they're writing good things about you. That really helps a lot. Okay, and then the second hospital, so in about third year, I realized that like, hey, I only have one hospital on my checklist right now, so maybe I should start at a different hospital. So I actually volunteered at Princess Margaret Cancer Center. So how I got in was actually fairly simple. It just takes a little bit of time on the internet. So I had to search for a volunteer position at UHN, and then I did their application process. Then I handed in my resume. Then I went in for an interview, and then I got a position. So, then orientation, then I got a position. So, I mean, if you really want it, it's not hard to find volunteer positions. That's what I'm really getting at. You just need to put in that extra time to go through the process, because getting into hospitals, you obviously have to go through this whole like immunization and TB testing and all of that. So, but I definitely recommend that you do some hospital experience if you're especially scared that you don't have enough experience. It's really easy, and I only did Princess Margaret for 6 months, and I ended up using that reference to apply to University of Toronto, and I got into University of Toronto, and she was a sweetheart. I worked in a dental clinic, and she at Princess Margaret, and she was really sweet to me. She knew me, and I think it was a lot more personal, even though I was only there for 6 months. So that kind of shows you that I was at one hospital for years and years and years versus one hospital for 6 months, yet the one that I was at for 6 months gave me a much better reference. So don't be intimidated by the length of time that you're volunteering. Okay, I guess since I'm talking about references, I'll just finish up the point that I wanted to talk about. When it came to references, I did get a question about specifically University of Toronto. References, do you send the reference from your professor or your volunteer experience or your work? No. For University of Toronto, you directly send, you just send them your email, your references email, and then your reference gets a form. You don't see what the form looks like. Your reference fills it out, and then your reference sends it directly back to University of Toronto. So that's just a side note. My other reference was my professor, who I got to know, I think fairly well in third year, not grade 3. And I didn't know him well when I was in year 2. I was intimidated by talking to professors and going to office hours, but I realized that once you did it, it's a lot easier than it seems, and they're really there to help you. I think I said that in my last video as well. And they're more of mentors, and I find, so for my professor reference, he actually got me to write my personal statement for NIPSing that I applied to, and I actually really enjoyed getting to write my own personal statement, because you get to kind of talk yourself up and really who knows you better than you know yourself. So I thought that was a really cool experience for me, and I think I did a really good job on the letter, because when I sent it back to him, he complimented me on the letter and said it was very well written, and that he just kind of added his own personal touches to it, so that obviously it came from a professor and not from me. So sometimes you'll find your references do that, so be prepared to be able to write your own reference letters as well, and personal statements. Personal statements you have to write yourself. I think I'm talking about reference letters. I'm just mixing the two up. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about reference-wise was for University of Toronto. Like I said, I used a volunteer reference. I didn't even use a work reference. I know when you look at the forums and you look at people who apply, you see that some people have been employed in healthcare settings, and that might throw you off. So personally, I wasn't employed. I was just a volunteer. I didn't have any healthcare related job experience. I did think I put some of my job experience, which I had part-time jobs just working at Shoppers and food industry part-time jobs that had nothing to do with nursing, but I can't remember the exact way the application looked, but I think I might have mentioned that there, just to pick up on the different skills that I learned, or that those places or part-time jobs gave. But then again, I can't remember for the life of me. So, but what I'm trying to say is that don't be bummed out if your references don't come from a exact workplace where you got paid. Yeah, so personal statement, I have had a bunch of people kind of ask me for what I wrote on my personal statement. So personal statement, it has to be personal, it has to come from you. So at the end of the day, no one can write it except for you. But some things I just want to talk about that might help you write it is that in my personal statement, I started off with a little story about my personal experience with healthcare and with nursing in particular. And then I went from that personal story, I went to my experiences. So I did a double major in human biology and health studies. So how components of each of those programs can directly be applied into the healthcare setting and nursing profession. So I also talked about the future of nursing and just like where I see myself past just being a nurse, like kind of going above and beyond just the basic, like I want to get into this program so I can get my degree and so I can become a nurse. Like kind of think outside of that step-by-step process. For example, like do you see yourself maybe working in a like in a team that manages healthcare, I don't know, like maybe a manager position, for example, like that kind of stuff. You just want to go above and beyond just talking about like why you'd make a good nurse, basically. So again, I wish I could give you more on that, but I really don't know. Everyone's personal statement is different, so I'm sure you'll be fine as long as you just kind of highlight why you would make a good candidate. So another thing I want to talk about is the Casper test. So I personally wrote it 3 times because I started applying to accelerated programs in second year. So what I can tell you from my experience, do not panic. It's really more of a common knowledge, what's that word? Common sense test. So all you have to do is do your research. So find those websites that have practice tests. Do the practice tests. Go on YouTube and find those people that make the videos that are also markers. So there's like the people that mark the test. So the test is like split up into different sections, and those sections are sent to different profs, or I don't know what they are, they're markers. They mark your tests. So each section is marked by a different person. So some of these people, they make videos on like what they look for in your answers. And I found a bunch of formulas that kind of tell you how to structure your answer. Like I can't give you an exact answer, but like ABCD. So it's like follow ABCD, answer your question like that, and you'll get full marks. So honestly, just it's not hard. It's maybe stressful because it's very like quickly timed, and you're probably going to find that sometimes you're not going to be able to answer the question to the best of your ability. You might not even finish a question, but the whole thing is just keep going, because like I said, each section is marked by a different marker. So you can do really well in one section and that'll bring your whole mark up. And the issue is with Casper is you never see your mark, so I don't even know how I did on the Casper test. So it's just, it is what it is. But like I said, do the practice tests, find formulas to help you, and just don't stress. Like, don't stress, especially if you miss a question because you ran out of time or something like that. So okay, let's talk about my GPA now. So I did have a couple questions about asking what my GPA is. First of all, I want to say that now that you guys know about my healthcare experience, you can now gauge. I'm definitely going to share my GPA because I'm not one of those people that feels like I need to hide my GPA. It's just a number. And now that you know my healthcare experience, you can look at my GPA and kind of balance the two and see like, hey, like where do you fall on this scale? Do you have more healthcare experience, or is your GPA more on the higher end? And you can kind of gauge that. So my GPA, in the first 2 years, my GPA was bad. I can't exactly remember what it was, but it wasn't the highest GPA. Like it was lacking. And then like the first 2 years are always a write-off. Oh, the first year is always a write-off. Second year was just, I was still writing off. I don't know why. But the first year, I know a lot of people have challenges kind of getting into university and like how, like getting used to how it works. So third year I really tried to up the game, and then fourth year I obviously really upped the game. So my CGPA leaving University of Toronto was a 3.44, and the thing is, with U of T, they say, and other accelerated programs as well, they say that they only look at, so sans U of T, I just learned that word sans, so I like to say it. Forget U of T for a second. All other accelerated nursing programs, they look at the last 2 years. So for me, that's a really good thing, because third year and fourth year was great. So they totally don't look at the first 2 years. That's not calculated, blah, blah, blah. They say that, okay? I know they see your CGPA though, like they do see it, and I'm pretty sure they do take it into account, regardless of saying that they don't. That's just my speculation. Honestly, I have no proof on that. And then U of T, they look at your last 5 credits, and U of T, 5 credits means last year. So they look at that last year GPA. They do look at your CGPA though. Again, I have no proof, but I know they do. So for me, my last year GPA at U of T was probably like a 3.8, 3.9. I don't know exactly what it was. And then my last 2 years was 3.7, 3.8. So like I'm saying, I really upped it in the last 2 years, but my overall CGPA was only a 3.44. So it's not the best. And I know people that got into U of T. Okay, there's one girl in my program that's got in from second year. Like she finished her 2 years, and now she's starting at U of T in third year. So anything can happen, and like now you know my experience as well. You can kind of see I'm not like the most qualified person out there, but I did get in. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of hope. And the last question I just want to touch upon is, how did I find the experience? Someone asked me that, and I was like, wow, how did I find the experience? So I did it 3 times. I started in second year, I did it in third year, and then again in fourth year. Stressful. It's very stressful. Nobody quite understands like all the stress that you have, and especially if you really want to get in, like it's just like that's all you think about. I remember every time I was writing exams, I was like I just need to do well on this exam. I need to get in, and I would start researching accelerated programs when I was supposed to be studying. Like, it really takes over you, and of course it is really stressful. But like when I got to fourth year and I started getting my acceptances, I was really happy. But I was also like, okay, yeah, I knew this was gonna happen because I put in this work, I put in this effort. So just be confident, and just give it your all. And it's gonna be stressful regardless, but it's definitely worth it. And now that I'm in the program, I can definitely say that like anyone can get in. If you really want to get in, you can do it. And yeah, so I'm gonna end it there. Again, if you have any more questions, just put it in the comments below. If I made any mistakes with the facts, put it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, because I am going to be making more videos, especially more vlogs now that I'm getting more into the program and into the routine, so you can kind of see what it's like. So yeah, thank you for watching.